The cold metal floor bit into Taiwan's bare feet as he paced his cell. 7 steps forward. Turn. 7 steps back. It was all the space he had. All he had known for 3 years. The dim blue light never changed in the prison ship. There was no day or night here, just endless hours that blurred together. Taiwan ran his fingers over the scars on his arms, marks from countless tests and samples taken by his captors. He stopped his pacing when he heard the familiar click-click-click of Na'vi feet approaching. The sound made his stomach tighten. The Na'vi were tall, insect-like aliens with hard shells and too many eyes. They had 4 arms and walked on 2 legs. Their mouthparts moved in ways that still made Taiwan sick to watch. "Human Subject 37, came the cold voice through the translator. "Against wall." Taiwan obeyed. He had learned that fighting only made things worse. He pressed his back to the wall as the shimmering energy barrier at the front of his cell dropped. 2 Na'vi guards entered. One held a shock stick. The other carried restraints. Their eyes, all 6 on each face, blinked at different times, never all at once. "Testing time," the first one said. Taiwan let them put the restraints on his wrists and ankles. The metal was cold and tight, cutting into skin already marked with old bruises. "Move," the second guard ordered, pushing him with the shock stick without activating it. Taiwan walked ahead of them down the long corridor. The ship was massive, but he had only seen a tiny part of it, his cell and the lab where they took him. Sometimes they took him to the questioning room, but that was all. Other cells lined the hallway. Most held creatures he didn't recognize. Aliens from worlds the Na'vi had conquered. Some looked at him as he passed. Others kept their eyes down. One reached a tentacle toward him in what might have been a gesture of sympathy. Taiwan nodded slightly in return. The lab doors slid open with a hiss. The room was bright white, hurting his eyes after the dim corridor. Tables with straps. Machines that beeped and hummed. Screens showing data he couldn't read. And the smell, sharp and clean and wrong. "On table 3, said a new voice. Commander Apex stood by a control panel. He was larger than the guard Na'vi, with markings on his shell that showed his high rank. Apex had been in charge of Taiwan's testing from the beginning. "The human shows remarkable resilience," Apex said to another Na'vi in a lab coat. 3 years of testing and still strong enough to stand. Most species begin to fail much sooner. Taiwan lay on the cold table, staring at the ceiling as they secured his restraints to the table edges. He thought of Earth as they did this. He thought of the green mountains near his home in Korea, of normal days before the Na'vi ships appeared in the sky. He had been a military strategist then, one of Earth's best. That's why they kept him alive. To study his brain, to understand how humans thought and planned. The Na'vi wanted to know how to beat humanity completely. "Begin extraction sequence," Apex said. A machine lowered from the ceiling. Taiwan knew the pain that was coming, but he wouldn't scream. Not today. He bit his lip as the needles found his skin. Through the pain, he noticed something new. A different Na'vi had entered the lab. Smaller, moving differently. This one wore the marks of a medical worker. "Sir, I am Jaya, new medical tech assigned to monitoring human subjects," she said. Her voice through the translator sounded less harsh than the others. "Monitor vital signs," Apex ordered her. "Alert me if they drop too quickly. This specimen is valuable." As the machine pulled samples from his body, Taiwan caught the new Na'vi, Jia, watching him. For just a moment, he thought he saw something different in her eyes. Not coldness, not scientific interest. Was it concern? Taiwan closed his eyes as the pain grew worse. He would not break. Not today. Not ever. Someday, somehow, he would be free again. He had no idea that someday was coming sooner than he thought. Jia moved quickly through the dim halls of the prison ship. She checked over her shoulder twice before stopping at a supply cabinet. With practiced hands, she punched a code into the lock pad. The door slid open with a soft hiss. She wasn't Navi. Up close, anyone could see that. Jaya was human like Tawan, but wore the uniform and outer shell covering that marked her as Navy medical staff. The Navy had conquered her colony world 4 years ago. They took people with useful skills to serve them. The rest were used for tests or worse. Jaya grabbed what she needed from the cabinet, extra nutrient packs and pain blockers, and closed it quickly. She slipped these items into a hidden pocket in her uniform. What she was doing could get her killed. But after seeing Tawan yesterday, she couldn't do nothing. An hour later, she entered the lab for her shift. Commander Apex was gone. Good. She could work without his cold eyes watching her. I need to check on human subject 37, she told the guard at the lab door. His readings were unstable yesterday. The guard nodded. He didn't care what she did as long as it looked like work. Taiwan was lying on his side when Jaya reached his cell. His back was turned to the door. The thin blanket did little to hide how thin he had become, but she had seen his eyes. They still burned with something the Navi hadn't broken. She tapped on the control pad, and the energy barrier faded just enough for her to step through. Medical check, she said loudly for the cameras. Taiwan turned to face her, his eyes narrowed with distrust. All he saw was another person in a Navi uniform. Jaya knelt beside him. She pulled out her medical scanner and held it over him, making sure her body blocked the camera's view. With her other hand, she slipped a nutrient pack and pain blocker under his thin mattress. "You need to eat these when no one is watching," she whispered. "The pain blocker will help you sleep." Taiwan's eyes widened. "You're human," he whispered back. "Yes, pretend to be in pain now," she said. Taiwan let out a small groan as Jia made a show of adjusting something on her scanner. "Colony World, Nova Korea," she whispered while working. "I was a doctor before they came. Why help me?" His voice was barely a breath. "Because we have to stay human, even here." She stood up and spoke loudly again. "Subject stable but weak. Will need daily monitoring." For 3 weeks, Jaya came to Taiwan's cell every day. Each time, she brought a little food, medicine, or news. Sometimes she could only stay for a minute. Other times, she had 5 or 10 minutes to talk while pretending to run tests. Taiwan grew stronger. The extra food helped his body. The human contact helped his mind. "They're planning something big," Jaya told him one day. "More tests. More subjects coming in." "What kind of tests?" Taiwan asked. "I don't know yet, but I heard Apex talking about final phases." She checked her scanner. "Your heart rate is better today." "Thanks to you," Taiwan said. For the first time in years, he almost smiled. Jaya saw the change in him. The spark in his eyes was growing brighter. She knew it was dangerous, for both of them, but she couldn't stop helping him. Later that day, Jaya was working in the main lab when Commander Apex entered with 2 senior Navi scientists. "The human test subject 37 is perfect for the terminal phase," Apex said. "Strong mental capacity. Still showing resistance after 3 years. The final extraction will yield valuable data." Jaya's hands froze over her control panel. Terminal phase. Final extraction. These words meant one thing. Taiwan would not survive his next test. She had to act now. No more small helps. No more waiting. Tonight, she would break his chains. Jaya's heart pounded as she walked quickly to Taiwan's cell that night. The night shift had fewer guards. The ones who were on duty paid less attention. This was her chance. She pressed her hand to the scanner outside Taiwan's cell. The small device hidden in her palm tricked the scanner. The energy barrier flickered and faded just enough for her voice to pass through. "Taiwan," she whispered, "wake up." He was already awake, sitting up on his thin bed. He always seemed to know when she was coming. "What's wrong?" he asked, seeing her face. "They're going to kill you tomorrow," Jaya said. "Apex has scheduled you for terminal testing. We have to get you out tonight." Taiwan stared at her. Get out. How? And why risk your life for me? Jaya looked down the hall to make sure no one was coming. Because you're the only one who might be able to fight back. I've seen your file. You were a top military mind on Earth. That was a long time ago, he said. I'm not the same man. You're exactly the same man, Jaya said firmly. They haven't broken you. I can see it in your eyes. Taiwan moved closer to the barrier. Even if we get out of this cell, the ship is huge. There are guards everywhere. And then what? Where would we go? Jaya pulled a small device from her pocket and showed it to him. This is a ship map. I downloaded it from the medical database. She pointed to a blinking dot. We're here, and here. She pointed to another area. It's a small hangar with maintenance shuttles. The shuttles have enough fuel to reach the outer system. They'll track us, Taiwan said, but Jaya could see his mind working now, considering possibilities. Not if we use this. She pulled out a small chip. It's a tracking blocker. I took it from a broken shuttle. I can install it if we reach the hangar. Taiwan nodded slowly. When is the best time to move? In 3 hours, Jaya said. That's when they do the daily systems check. Security drops for about 20 minutes while they reset everything. How do we get past the guards at the cell block exit? Jaya smiled slightly. I'm supposed to be running late-night tests on Subject 54 down the hall. I'll tell them I need to check you too. Once you're out of the cell, we move fast. For the next hour, they planned every step. Jia knew the guard routines. Taiwan, even after years in prison, still had a strategic mind. He found problems in her plan and fixed them. Together, they created a path through the ship. Why are you really doing this? Taiwan asked when they had finished planning. There must be more to it. Jaya's eyes darkened. My brother was a test subject too. They took him for terminal testing 3 months ago. I couldn't save him. But I can save you. I'm sorry, Taiwan said softly. Don't be sorry. Be ready. Jaya checked her small wrist computer. 2 more hours. Try to rest. She turned to go, but Taiwan called after her. Jia, thank you. She nodded once and disappeared down the hall. Taiwan sat back on his bed, mind racing. Freedom. After 3 years. It seemed impossible. But the woman was smart and brave. Maybe, just maybe, they had a chance. He did as she suggested and lay down to rest. But sleep was impossible. Instead, he stretched each muscle carefully, preparing his body. He was weak from years of poor food and little exercise, but adrenaline would help. And if they were caught, well, he was scheduled to die tomorrow anyway. Taiwan closed his eyes and pictured the ship map Jia had shown him, memorizing every turn and doorway. If they were going to do this, they would do it right. One chance, one path to freedom. The minutes ticked by slowly, each one bringing him closer to either escape or death. 2 hours later, Jaya returned. Her face was tight with worry, but her hands were steady as she worked the door controls. Systems check started 1 minute ago, she whispered. We have 19 minutes to reach the shuttle bay. The energy barrier flickered and died. For the first time in 3 years, nothing stood between Taiwan and freedom. He stepped out of his cell, legs shaking slightly. Put this on. Jaya handed him a medical assistant uniform. Quick. Taiwan changed fast. The clothes were too big, but better than prison rags. Jia handed him a cap to cover his head. Keep your eyes down if we see anyone, she said. Ready? Taiwan nodded. His heart beat so loud he was sure the Navy could hear it 3 decks away. They moved down the corridor, past other cells. Some prisoners watched them go. None made a sound. They all knew what happened to those who drew attention. At the end of the hall, a single guard stood by the exit door. Jia walked up to him, holding her medical pad. Taking this one to special testing, she said, showing the guard a fake order on her pad. The guard looked at Taiwan. then back at the pad. This isn't. Before he could finish, Taiwan moved. 3 years of pain and anger exploded into action. His hand shot out, hitting the exact spot where Navi throats were weakest. The guard dropped without a sound. Jaya stared at him, shocked. How did you? I watched them, Taiwan said simply. Every day for 3 years, I learned their weak points. They dragged the guard into a storage room. Jaya took his access card. Then they were moving again, faster now. The ship was huge, with many levels and corridors. They took service passageways when possible, avoiding main halls. Twice they had to hide in empty rooms when Navi walked by. The minutes ticked away. 12 minutes left. Jaya whispered as they reached a major junction. The shuttle bay is 2 levels down. They took an emergency ladder rather than the main lifts. The climb down was hard for Taiwan. His arms shook from the effort, but he refused to slow down. When they reached the bottom, Jaya checked her small computer. 8 minutes. We're close. The hallway ahead was wide and bright. 2 exposed, but there was no other way to the shuttle bay. They had to cross it. Ready? Jaya asked. Taiwan nodded. They began walking, trying to look normal, like they belonged there. They were halfway across when a door opened ahead. 3 Navi security officers stepped out. One looked up and froze, antenna twitching. You, stop, the lead Navi called. Jaya grabbed Taiwan's arm. Run. They sprinted down the hall. Behind them, alarms began to wail. The security system was coming back online early. There, Jaya pointed to a door marked with the shuttle bay symbol. The door was locked. Jaya slapped the guard's access card against the reader. Nothing happened. It's not working, she cried. Taiwan looked back. The Navi guards were gaining. Move, he said. He studied the control panel for 2 seconds, then punched a sequence of buttons. The door slid open. How did you know the code? Jaya asked as they ran through. I watched them enter it. 1,000 times. From my cell. The shuttle bay held 3 small ships, maintenance vessels designed for repairs outside the main ship. That one, Jaya pointed to the smallest. It has the simplest controls. They ran for it as the door behind them burst open. The Navi guards fired their weapons. Energy bolts hit the wall near Taiwan's head. Jaya reached the shuttle first and hit the door release. Taiwan dove inside after her as more shots flew past. Can you fly this? He asked as the door sealed behind them. I think so, Jaya said, hands flying over the controls. I've watched the technicians. The shuttle engines hummed to life. Outside, more guards were pouring into the bay. Hold on, Jaya called. The shuttle lurched forward, scraping against the bay floor. Then they were lifting, flying toward the open bay doors that led to space. To freedom. The little shuttle shook as it pushed out of the bay doors into open space. Behind them, the massive Navi prison ship grew smaller. Ahead was darkness dotted with stars. They're sending ships after us, Jaya said, looking at the scanner. 3. No, 4 smaller vessels launching. Taiwan gripped the edge of his seat. How fast can this shuttle go? Not fast enough to outrun them, Jaya said. Her hands moved quickly over the controls. But I know somewhere we can hide. She turned the shuttle toward a small gray moon that hung in the distance. The engines whined with the effort. What's there? Taiwan asked. An old mining base, abandoned years ago when the ore ran out. The Navi don't go there anymore. She glanced at him. I heard officers talking about it. The shuttle raced toward the moon. Behind them, the Navi ships followed, growing closer. They're gaining on us, Taiwan said, watching the scanner. Jaya nodded. We just need to reach the moon. There's a deep canyon on the far side. The rocks there will block their scanners. The shuttle shuddered as a blast from the lead Navi ship grazed their wing. Hold on, Jaya called. She pushed the shuttle into a dive toward the moon's surface. They entered the thin atmosphere, the shuttle shaking around them. The surface of the moon rushed up to meet them. Gray rock, deep cracks, no life. Jia pulled up just in time, the shuttle's bottom scraping against a tall rock spire. She flew low and fast, weaving between rock formations. The Na'vi ships followed, but they were bigger and less nimble. One crashed into a cliffside in a bright flash of light. The others fell back, moving more carefully. There, Jaya pointed ahead. A dark line cut across the surface. A deep canyon. She turned the shuttle sideways to slip between the narrow canyon walls. The wings scraped against rock, throwing off sparks. Then they were in, flying deep into the shadowed crack. "I see it," Jaya said. The mining base. Built into the canyon wall was a metal structure. Doors, windows, landing pads, all abandoned and dusty. Jia guided the shuttle to a landing pad and set it down with a bump. "Will the Na'vi find us here?" Taiwan asked as they powered down the engines. Jaya shook her head. "The rocks in this canyon block scanners, and they think this place is empty. We should be safe for now." They left the shuttle and entered the old base through an airlock. Inside was dark and cold, but the air was breathable. Emergency power still ran in some sections. "This will be our home for a while," Jaya said. She found light controls and turned them on. The room glowed dimly. The base wasn't large, but it had everything they needed. Beds, a food synthesizer, even a medical bay. All covered in dust, but still working. "Why did you really save me?" Taiwan asked as Jaya checked his body for injuries in the medical bay. The truth this time. Jaya was quiet for a moment. Then she rolled up her sleeve. On her arm was a scar just like the ones Taiwan had from the Na'vi tests. "My brother and I were both test subjects," she said. "I was chosen for work because of my medical training. He wasn't so lucky." Her voice grew tight. "They did their final test on him 3 months ago. I couldn't save him, but I promised myself I would save someone. I'm sorry about your brother," Taiwan said softly. "His name was Han," Jaya said. "He was kind and smart. He didn't deserve what they did to him." She looked at Taiwan with fierce eyes. "None of us do." In the following days, Taiwan grew stronger. Real food from the synthesizer helped. So did being able to move freely, to stretch his legs and arms. Jaya watched him with growing respect as his body began to recover its former strength. One evening, as they ate dinner, Jaya showed Taiwan something on her small computer. "I've been monitoring Na'vi communications," she said. "I think you should see this." Taiwan looked at the screen, and his face went dark. What he saw changed everything. Taiwan stared at the screen, his blood running cold. The message was clear, even translated from Na'vi language. "Final weapon testing complete. Earth assault preparation at 87%. Awaiting biological component from human subject 37. They were using me to make a weapon," he said, his voice hollow. "A weapon against Earth." Jaya nodded. "Not just you. All the human test subjects. They've been collecting blood and tissue samples for years." Taiwan stood up and paced across the small room. His mind raced with what this meant. They're planning a final attack on Earth. And they need me to finish it. "There's more," Jaya said. She tapped the screen, showing another message. "Look at where the prison ship is now." The screen showed a map of a star system. The prison ship was orbiting a large planet with rings. "That's Na'vi Prime," Jaya said. "Their home world. The prison ship wasn't just a lab. It's their forward command center for the attack." Taiwan looked closer at the data. "How far are we from this planet?" "Less than 1 day's flight in our shuttle," Jaya said. "We're in the same system." Taiwan sat down heavily. "So we escaped one prison only to end up right next to the heart of their empire." Jaya continued scrolling through messages. Then she gasped. No, it can't be." "What is it?" Taiwan moved to look over her shoulder. "My home colony, Nova Korea." Her voice shook. It says they used it as a test site for the weapon 6 months ago. That's why communication stopped. They weren't just conquered. They're all dead. Tears filled Jaya's eyes. For a moment, she seemed unable to speak. Then she took a deep breath. Thousands of people. My family. Friends. Everyone. Taiwan put his hand on her shoulder. He had no words that could help. He knew the pain of loss too well. After a while, Jaya wiped her eyes. Her sadness hardened into something else. Determination. We have to stop them, she said, before they do the same thing to Earth. How? Taiwan asked. We're just 2 people with a small shuttle. But we have knowledge, Jaya said. I know their systems, their codes, their weaknesses. And you were a military strategist, one of Earth's best. Taiwan walked to the window and looked out at the gray landscape. Even if we could somehow get a message to Earth, the Navy fleet would arrive before any defense could be prepared. Then we have to stop them here, Jaya said. At the source. She showed him more data on her screen. Look, the biological weapon they created is ready for loading onto their ships, but it has one weakness. She pointed to a line of text. It's keyed to human DNA. Your DNA, specifically. Taiwan frowned. I don't understand. The weapon targets any species that doesn't match the base DNA pattern, Jaya explained. They designed it to kill humans by using your DNA as the safe template. Slowly, Taiwan began to understand. So it wouldn't harm anything with DNA similar to mine. But it would harm the Navy, Jaya finished. Their DNA structure is completely different from ours. Taiwan's eyes widened as the full plan formed in his mind. So if we could somehow trigger this weapon on their planet instead of Earth, it would affect them, not us, Jaya said. It would disable their leadership, their military command. For the first time since his capture, a real smile crossed Taiwan's face. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a warrior who sees a path to victory. Then that's what we'll do, he said. We'll use their own weapon against them. Jaya looked uncertain. It would mean going back to the prison ship, back to danger. Yes, Taiwan said. But this time, I won't be going as a prisoner. He looked down at his hands, no longer weak and shaking. This time, I'll be going as a weapon. Outside, the stars continued their slow movement across the sky. Somewhere out there was Earth, still unaware of the danger coming. And even closer was Navi Prime, where their enemy waited, unknowing that the tide was about to turn. For 3 days, Taiwan and Jaya prepared. They knew what they had to do, but getting back onto the prison ship would not be easy. We can't just fly up to their docking bay, Taiwan said as they studied the ship plans on Jaya's computer. They'd shoot us down before we got close. Jaya nodded. But look here. She pointed to a section of the prison ship. Supply vessels dock here every 2 days. I had to process the inventory when I worked in the medical bay. So we need to look like a supply ship, Taiwan said. They set to work modifying their shuttle. Using parts from the mining base, they changed the outer shell to match Navy supply vessels. Jia reprogrammed the shuttle's ID beacon to broadcast a supply code. One more thing, she said on the final day. She handed Taiwan a set of restraints. You'll have to look like my prisoner again. Taiwan smiled grimly, just like old times. When everything was ready, they launched the shuttle. As they left the moon's surface, both were quiet, thinking of what lay ahead. If this works, Jaya finally said, the Navy will never threaten Earth again. When this works, Taiwan corrected her. The journey to the prison ship took 6 hours. With each passing minute, the massive ship grew larger in their view screen. It hung in orbit above Navi Prime, the planet's rings visible behind it. Supply vessel K-12 requesting docking permission, Jaya said into the communication system, trying to sound calm. There was a long pause. Taiwan held his breath. Supply vessel K-12, transmit authorization code, came the response. Jaya sent the code she had memorized from her time working on the ship. Another long pause followed. Supply vessel K-12, you are not on today's schedule, the Navi controller said. Emergency replacement parts for Lab Section 4, Jaya replied quickly. Commander Apex's orders. At the mention of Apex, the controller's tone changed. Proceed to docking bay 7. They both exhaled in relief. The first hurdle was cleared. As they approached the docking bay, Jaya turned to Taiwan. Remember the plan. I take you to the lab section as my prisoner. You were recaptured on a nearby moon base. Taiwan nodded and held out his hands for the restraints. Jaya locked them in place, but left them loose enough that he could slip free when needed. Once we're inside, we separate, Taiwan said. You go to the communications center to send the warning to Earth. I go to the weapons lab. We meet back at docking bay 3 in 1 hour, Jaya finished. No matter what happens, the shuttle docked with a gentle bump. Jia put on her Navy medical uniform and face covering. With a final look at each other, they stepped out into the docking bay. A Navy guard approached them. State your purpose. Returning escaped prisoner for Commander Apex, Jaya said, pushing Taiwan forward. Human subject 37, recaptured at Outpost L8. The guard looked at Taiwan with all 6 eyes. Apex will be pleased. He's been searching for this one. I need to process him through decontamination, Jaya said. Where is the commander now? In the main lab. Take the prisoner there directly. Jaya nodded and pushed Taiwan forward. They walked through the corridors, passing other Navi who barely glanced at them. A prisoner with a guard was a common sight. When they reached a junction, Jaya leaned close to Taiwan. This is where we separate. The communication center is 2 levels up. The weapons lab is straight ahead. 1 hour, Taiwan reminded her. 1 hour, she agreed. Then, surprising both of them, she quickly kissed his cheek, for luck. Before he could respond, she turned and walked away, heading for the nearest lift. Taiwan watched her go, then slipped his hands free of the restraints. He kept them on his wrists, so they still looked fastened. Then, walking with purpose like he belonged there, he headed for the weapons lab. Behind him, a shadow moved. Commander Apex stepped out from a doorway, all 6 eyes narrowed in suspicion. So, Apex said quietly to himself, the test subject returns. How convenient. Taiwan moved quickly through the corridors. He remembered every turn, every door. 3 years of watching from his cell had burned the layout into his mind. 2 Navi technicians passed him. They glanced at his restraints and assumed he was being taken somewhere by a guard. They didn't notice that no guard was with him. The weapons lab was ahead. Taiwan could see the heavy metal door with warning signs in Navi language. He needed a keycard to enter. As if answering his thoughts, a Navi scientist approached the door from the other direction. Taiwan ducked into a side passage and waited. When the scientist swiped his card, Taiwan moved fast. He slipped in behind the scientist before the door closed. Inside the lab, he pressed himself against the wall. The room was large, with many workstations. In the center was a clear tube filled with blue liquid. Floating in the liquid was something that made Taiwan's blood run cold, a piece of human tissue. His tissue. The scientist was looking at a screen, back turned to Taiwan. Moving silently, Taiwan picked up a heavy tool from a nearby table. One quick strike, and the scientist dropped to the floor unconscious. Taiwan went to the main control panel. The screen showed the weapon design. It was worse than he had imagined. The biological agent would attack any DNA that didn't match the template, his DNA. On Earth, it would kill every living thing except those with DNA very close to his own. Certain Korean bloodlines might survive, but everyone else would die. Monsters, he whispered. A map on another screen showed loading docks. The weapon was being transferred to ships right now. Soon, those ships would leave for Earth. Taiwan had to act fast. He studied the controls. The main trigger for the weapon was simple. It was designed to be released in Earth's atmosphere. But if he could release it here, in the Navi homeworld's atmosphere. His fingers moved over the control panel. He redirected the release to target Navi Prime instead of Earth. The system accepted the change without question. Why would it need security? No one would ever want to target their own planet. No one except a prisoner with nothing to lose. Just as he finished, a voice came from behind him. Impressive, human. Truly impressive. Tai-1 spun around. Commander Apex stood in the doorway, 2 armed guards beside him. I wondered if you would return, Apex said, walking slowly toward him. But I never imagined you would be so bold. You killed millions on Nova Korea, Tai-1 said. You plan to kill billions on Earth. It is the way of evolution, Apex said. The strong survive. The weak perish. His antenna twitched. Though I must admit, your species has shown remarkable strength. Tai-1 glanced at the control panel. 1 button. That's all he needed to press. 1 button to release the weapon into the Navi atmosphere. Step away from the controls, Apex ordered. Now. The guards raised their weapons. Tai-1 didn't move. You're too late, he said. I've already changed the target. Your weapon is aimed at your own planet now. Apex's eyes widened. You're bluffing. Am I? Tai-1's hand hovered over the button. In about 10 seconds, we'll all find out. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Apex's communication device buzzed. Commander. Emergency in the communication center. The human female has been captured. Jaya. They have found her. In that moment of distraction, Tai-1 made his move. He slammed his hand down on the button. System activated, announced a computer voice. Atmospheric release in progress. Apex roared with anger. The guards fired, but Tai-1 had already dived behind a heavy metal table. Shots hit the equipment around him, sending sparks flying. You've doomed us all, Apex shouted. No, Tai-1 called back. Just you. On screens around the lab, warning messages flashed. The weapon had been released into the atmosphere of Navi Prime. Soon, every Navi on the planet would begin to feel the effects. But Tai-1 had only one thought now. He had to find Jia. Chaos filled the prison ship's corridors. Alarms blared as Tai-1 ran toward the communication center. Navy rushed in all directions, some already showing signs of the weapon's effects. Their movements were slower. Some stumbled and fell. The weapon was working. Tai-1 reached the lift to the upper level. Inside, a Navi guard lay on the floor, breathing hard. He ignored Tai-1 completely, too sick to care. When the lift doors opened on the communications level, Tai-1 heard shouting. He followed the sound and found a group of Navi security officers outside the main communication room. They were trying to break down a sealed door. Somehow, Jaya had locked herself inside. Tai-1 stayed hidden around the corner, watching. The Navy were getting weaker by the minute. The weapons spread quickly through the air system. Soon, they would be too weak to stand. When the last guard collapsed, Tai-1 rushed to the door. Jaya, he called. It's me. Open the door. The door slid open. Jia stood there, a cut on her forehead, but otherwise unhurt. You did it, she said, looking at the fallen Navi. You triggered the weapon. Tai-1 nodded. Did you send the warning to Earth? Yes, Jaya said. I sent the message and the defense codes. Earth will be ready if any Navi ships still try to attack. A violent shake ran through the ship. Warning lights flashed on the control panels. The ship's systems are failing, Jaya said. The Navi running the engines must be affected too. We need to get to the shuttle, Tai-1 said. He took her hand. Now. They ran through the corridors, stepping over fallen Navi. The ship shook again, harder this time. Pipes burst in the ceiling, spraying steam. Look, Jaya pointed out a viewport as they passed. Below them, the surface of Navi Prime was changing. A strange glow spread across the atmosphere, beautiful waves of light, like an aurora. But Taiwan knew what it meant. The weapon was changing the air itself. Every Navi on the planet would be affected. Their mighty empire would fall in a single day. They reached Docking Bay 3, but the door was sealed shut. Emergency locks had engaged when the systems began failing. "There's another way," Jaya said, "through the main docking control room." They changed direction, running down a side passage. Time was running out. The ship's orbit was degrading. Soon it would begin to fall toward the planet. The control room door was open. Inside, they found Commander Apex, leaning against the control panel. He was still alive, but barely. "You did this," Apex gasped when he saw Taiwan. "You turned our weapon against us. You gave me no choice," Taiwan said. "We underestimated your kind," Apex said. His breathing was labored. "The strong survive." Then he fell silent, his eyes staring at nothing. Jaya pushed past the fallen commander and worked the controls. "I can open Bay 3 from here," she said. The ship lurched violently. Warning sirens grew louder. "We're falling from orbit," Jaya said, her voice tight with fear. "We have minutes at most." The bay doors finally opened. They ran to their shuttle and climbed inside. Jaya's hands flew over the controls, starting the engines. "The docking clamps won't release," she said. "The system's failing." Taiwan found the manual override and pulled it hard. With a metallic groan, the clamps released. The shuttle pushed away from the dying prison ship just as another explosion rocked it. They flew into open space, watching as the massive ship began to break apart, burning as it entered the planet's atmosphere. "We did it," Jaya whispered. "We actually did it." Taiwan looked at the beautiful and terrible sight below them. The weapon he had triggered had saved Earth, but had doomed an entire civilization. He felt no joy, only relief that it was over. "Where to now?" Jaya asked quietly. "Home," Taiwan said. "Let's go home." He programmed the course into the shuttle's navigation system. It would be a long journey, but they had time. Earth was waiting for them. As the shuttle turned away from the dying planet, Taiwan reached for Jaya's hand. She had broken his chains. He had broken their planet. And somehow, in the middle of it all, they had found each other. They were free.